Hello. In the last lesson, we took the available physical devices. In this lesson, we're going to filter them out a bit. We need to have support for certain queue families on the Vulkan device, for it to be ready for rendering frames. I'll start by going into the header and adding this internal to the class struct. I will call it queue family indices. And inside, we will have some optional values. We need to include the optional header for this as well. And let's have this header defined in the precomp.h file. Now the members of the struct will be optional indices to queues. Each device has a list of different queue families, and we will just keep the index to the ones that we care about. The first one is the graphics family, and by default it will be equal to a no option. We want to present to the screen, so we also need a presentation family. We can then also have an isValid method inside this struct. The indices will be valid if both the graphics family and the presentation family have values. We're also going to add a new method in the graphics class that is called findQFamilies. It will take a physical device as a parameter and return the new struct that we just created. I will then copy this signature and add it into the CPP file's device region. And then we create its body. To find the queue family indices, we need to get the families from the device. And guess how that is done? We create a new count variable and call out getPhysicalDevice queueFamily properties. Then we create a vector with .count, and we call the same function again, but passing in the vector data this time. Now to find the graphics family, we can call stdefindIf method, where we iterate over the properties from the beginning to end. And we use this lambda function that checks if the property queue flags support the graphics bit and the transfer bit. This essentially means that the queue family has to support for us to upload data into it and also to render frames with it. We will get an iterator out of this. And we can initialize our queue family indices struct now and set the graphics family. We say to the difference of the found iterator with the begin iterator. And we return the result. Now, the presentation family will be out of the scope of this video, so I comment it out from the isValid function here. I can then delete this code from the isDeviceSuitable method here. And we will now instead find the queue families that we're interested in. We can determine if a device is suitable by calling the isValid method on the queue families. If we can't find a valid graphics family, then we cannot use the device for rendering. And finally, here we no longer need to print out all the devices, but we will instead assign our class member device to the first device in the list. And I will delete the for loop. Then I build and run the project. The fact that we don't have any error messages indicates a success.